What's going on, y'all? Your boy Darius here, back at another video, and this time I'm here with my review for The Crow. Not the 2024 version, no, I already did that. That's up on the channel right now. I'm here to review the 1994 Crow movie, the original Crow movie starring Brandon Lee, based, of course, off of the comic book by James O'Barr, which I'd never read. I always knew The Crow was based off of a comic book, and I had never seen the original Crow, the Brandon Lee Crow. I've always heard about it. I've seen, like, pictures, I've seen maybe like small clips here and there from it. I've always, growing up, I always knew about the Crow because of Sting, the wrestler, and finding out that, oh, Sting's gimmick was based off of the Crow movie. Okay, that's cool. All right. So, yeah. Before I watched the 2024 version, again, my review is up on the channel. I watched it over the weekend. I debated heavily about watching the original because when the first trailer came out for the remake, a lot of people were negative on it. I'd say most of the internet, most of the fandom, people who were fans of The Crow, were negative about it. I was more positive about it because it looked like, okay, it might have some pretty cool action, right? Which it did. Right, I'm not going to give away my whole review of that movie. You can go and watch it for yourself. But I was one of the few people actually positive on the trailer. So it made me kind of want to think about, should I watch the movie before I go see the remake? Should I watch the original before I go see the remake? And ultimately I didn't, because I had a feeling that it would ruin the experience for me. And in terms of not being able to separate myself from the original movie that came out, right? A lot of people have an emotional connection to The Crow. Obviously, Brandon Lee tragically, was shot and killed on set by a real gun, right? By like a real bullet, in the making of that movie. And that has helped to cultivate its sort of cult status, right? So I didn't want to have any of that baggage with me going into the new movie because I thought maybe I would enjoy it more. And I came away not entirely negative on it. Like I didn't hate it. A lot of people hate it, bro. That movie, a lot of people didn't even go see it. Okay, it's only made like $10 million so far, globally. So I didn't walk away from that movie absolutely hating it, but I could definitely tell that if you were a fan of the original, you probably would hate it. So I wanted to watch the original after I saw the remake, and so I did. I watched the original Crow yesterday. And I have to tell you, it makes the remake so much worse. Like, I think now, if I had to regrade the remake, right, I'd have to have two separate grades. I had to have one grade as, just as a movie itself, not even as a Crow movie, just as a movie itself, right? And then I'd have to have a grade for it as a Crow movie, because my God, it is night and day. I see why people love this movie. I see why it's a cult classic, because this movie is freaking awesome, right? Like, I'm not gonna go over a bunch of details because you probably already know, right? If you've seen the movie, you already know what it's about, and you already know what happens in it. But where do I even begin? I guess I can begin with Brandon Lee himself, right? This was like his most iconic role. I don't know any of the movie he did besides this. I'm sure he did, quite a few before he was tragically taken from us. Because based off of this movie alone, I could tell dude was going to be a megastar. Dude was going to be a megastar. Like, well, maybe not quite to the heights of his dad, right, Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's a megastar in a different way, action, kung fu action hero. I don't think Brandon Lee was going to be that, but maybe he could have been some type of action hero, just some type of iconic figure in film, because he was really good in this. He was really good, the acting, especially he's great, especially when he has to show how tortured he is, how just emotionally wrecked he is at losing Shelley, right? And the movie does a great job with the flashbacks that they splice in, into this movie, showing their past, showing their love, showing the tragic night, Devil's Night, where they were killed. And I'm going to be making constant comparisons to the remake, so I guess slight spoilers for the remake, but I mean, you're probably not going to watch it anyway, because again, only $10 million. They had like a 3 opening weekend. No one's going to see that movie. The one thing that the remake does is they show Eric and Shelley's relationship, how it begins. It shows all of that through pretty much the entirety of the movie. Like it's in like a what's the word? A linear fashion, right? To where he becomes the Crow by like the very end of the movie. Like he gets his powers in the remake kind of like midway through, but doesn't really become the Crow. Doesn't put on the makeup, and the all black until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. This movie does it different. Like I was pleasantly surprised that in the first like 15-20 minutes he was already the Crow. He already had the makeup on. He already had, the crow on his shoulder. He was already all black, ready to go get some vengeance. And that's because this movie, they didn't want to waste your time. They decided, hey, we're just going to show flashbacks and you'll get the picture. And I know, because I've taken, some screenwriting classes. I am an aspiring screenwriter, right? I know a lot of guys will say, don't abuse flashbacks, don't overuse flashbacks, because flashbacks, Jesus, flash black, wow. A lot of flashbacks, can be kind of a crutch. So you want to use it sparingly and effectively, and I think this movie did it in the best way. Because when they flash back to that night, and they show exactly what happens to Shelley, well, like they don't like graphically show what happens, because she, aside from being killed, right? Well, like she gets like mortally injured, and then she dies later in like intensive care or whatever, but like she gets graped, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't think I can actually say the word, but I'll put the G in front of it, graped. Like they don't graphically show it or anything, but they show enough where you get, oh god, she got like gang graped by these evil ass dudes. And that's something that doesn't happen in the remake, right? Like she just, in the remake, because they show it in the trailer, Eric and Shirley, they just get, caught, plastic bags over their head, suffocated. That's it. They get it way worse in this movie. Like, they get it way worse. She gets beaten and graped. He gets shot out of a window and falls to his death. Like, it's so much worse in this movie, and you actually feel like, oh yeah, this is egregious. I can definitely see why you would then come back to haunt these motherfuckers, because this is just fucked up. It is. Speaking of the evil motherfuckers who do it, right? There's like 4 dudes in this like gang. I'm trying to remember their names, because like I've heard their names before when people talk about the Crow. It's like what? One's named Tintin, Funboy, T-Bird, and Skank. They're not in the new one, by the way. They're not. They're not in the new one. And in this movie, they're the guys that Eric picks off one by one to get revenge. And with them came that comic book, or not even just comic book, just the 90s cheese. Like, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the acting is kind of overacting. It's like super cheesy. I'm just like, at times I'm just like, okay, this is a bit much. But it was the 90s. That's how a lot of movies were. So I just gotta deal with it. But not when it comes to Eric Draven, though. Eric Draven, there's no cheese. There's no overacting. He's just acting. And a lot of his subtle like mannerisms, like his looks, the way he talks. I got a lot of Heath Ledger Joker. And I wonder if Heath was inspired by Brandon Lee's Crow, because like they do have like that similar look, like he's got like because beforehand we've never seen a Joker with like the grease paint, black, on his eyes, which the Crow has in this movie, and like even like the way the wet hair looks, like we never had a Joker like that. So it seems like it could have been, or maybe it just could have been a complete coincidence. It seems like Heath Ledger might have taken some inspiration, or at least the people who made the design for Joker in that movie took some inspiration from the Crow. There's so much that happens in this movie that doesn't happen in the remake that it might as well not even be a Crow movie, the remake, right? Because the little girl's not in it, like his little friend, I forgot her name, who like her mother is like a not a waitress, but like a bartender or something. I think she is the waitress of that bar or whatever, who's in with one of the dudes. I think it's T-Bird. Like there's none of that. They don't have the cop. The cop played by Ernie Hudson. Loved him. He was great in this movie. Like he's not in the new one. There's so much not in the new one. That like Eric doesn't actually get buried. Like this takes place a year after, right? Like a year after they're killed, Eric comes back. In the new one, it just happens kind of instantly. And like in they try to go into so much lore of the Crow and like the little space, whatever realm that they dive into. This movie doesn't do any of that, and I feel like it's much more effective. It's just, all right, listen, these people got fucked up and killed. All right, sometimes when you know a crime, a murder is so foul, a crow brings the spirit back, brings the guy back. They tell you that information from jump, and you're like, okay, I'm in. Sometimes less is more, and with this movie, less is more in comparison to the remake. I have to say, the main bad guy in this was also better. Again, he had some of his own like overacting and cheesiness, but a lot better than the villain they had in the new one with his devil powers, whispering and shit. All around, this movie is just better than the original, or this movie is just better than the remake. Now I do feel the pain of Crow fans when I think of the remake and just how much they changed. I don't even think they even call him Eric Draven in the new one. His name's just Eric. It might not even be the same characters. This movie's awesome, all right? Like the action, like the one thing, the only thing the new one has over the original is the action, because like it's 90s. You can only get so much when it comes to action that's not a little over the top, a little cheesy, and not really showing a whole lot. Like credit to the remake when he's slicing and dicing and killing motherfuckers. Like you see it, the hand-to-hand combat and all this stuff. Like the combat action in the new one is way better than in this one. But that's the only thing. It's the only thing. Bill Skarsgård, bless his heart, man. He's a great actor. It's not Brandon Lee. Like the aura that Brandon Lee has in this movie, Skarsgård does not have, and they don't write him to have. Like I was saying in my remake review that just of the little clips I saw of Brandon Lee's Crow, that he had kind of like a dark sense of humor edge to him at times. He definitely could be quite sarcastic. He drops some pretty good one-liners. Like he's kind of Jokerish, small amount at times. None of that in the remake. This movie is awesome. I see why people love it. It's great. It's an A movie for me. Probably this movie is going to become a Halloween tradition. October 30th, Devil's Night, which I didn't even know that was even what it was called. But definitely going to incorporate this into that, into like that tradition where every October 30th, I'm going to watch The Crow. Just like every October 31st now, I watch The Batman because it takes place on Halloween. At least it starts out on Halloween. So that would be kind of a cool combo. Go from The Crow to The Batman. It'd be great. But yeah, man. Awesome movie. The remake, complete and utter trash compared to this. Like, again, as its own movie, separate. Not that bad. Not good. Not great. Not that bad. As a Crow movie, what the fuck were they thinking? Alright? There's my review of the 1994 Crow, man. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Let me know if you've seen the original Crow. Let me know if you've seen the new one and what you thought of it, man. Make sure if you haven't already, go out and check my full review of the remake. It'll be linked in at the end of the video here. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.